Greetings and welcome, everybody, to UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto. And even though I had severe FOMO and I was certainly not at ISE this year, and hopefully I'll be back next year, I'm going to be talking to a bunch of people that were at ISE this year to try and get their opinions. So joining me right now are Tom Arbuthnot and Neil Fluester. You know both of them already. Tom, say hi to everybody.
Yeah, hey everybody, good to see you. Good to be on the show again.
And Neil, you're taking time out of a busy sushi dinner with your restaurant colleague to join us and say hi, correct?
Absolutely. Hello, UC Weekly News viewers. It's great to be back. Getting the band back to get Dave with. This band is getting more airtime. It's brilliant. Great to be on the show again with you. And if it's too noisy, I've got them in Sam Kennedy here being noisy next to us, so I'll tell him to shut up.
Oh,
So
have Sam lean over and say hi.
Sam, they want you live. He'll want to say hi. There he is.
Hey, Sam, good to see you.
Very nice. Very cool. So he might be passing me food halfway through, but it's all good.
Well, I don't care if he passes you food. Just make sure he corrects you if you say something wrong.
Yes, there you go.
So I'll ask you to mute the restaurant, Neil. Tom, tell me, what are your first impressions? ISE was supposed to be the biggest show this year that they've ever done. I think the number I saw was around 75,000 people. Of course, that's only who signed up for it. They don't tell you who actually shows up. But was it as big and crowded as the news broadcast tell us it is?
Yeah, it definitely felt it. It felt really, really busy, like sustained busyness of all the stands and just lots of buzz. It was really exciting from that point of view. And Microsoft, for example, had all their Asia team over as well, so it was kind of like a really feeling like a key global event, not just a Europe event these days.
And you're back in the UK right now, so you came home.
Yeah.
You're not ill. You don't have any fevers or sniffles or
No,
anything.
So far so good. Yeah, I flew in last night, so I had plenty of Barocca, and that seems to have seen me through.
Good, I'm glad. And Neil, what about you? What was your general impression of the show? Big, small, happy, sad? What were your feelings?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely big. I mean, the thing I get about ISC, they stretched it out to 4 days now. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it is a long stretch compared to other events. And today, Friday, it's always quiet. I mean, again, if you finish it on Thursday, the Thursday will be quiet. Whatever day you finish it on is going to be the quiet day. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, absolutely pammed, racked. The walkways were packed out again. Mike Blackman was saying about huge numbers. But yeah, today a little bit quiet, busy this morning. But yeah, it was then people were starting to pack up early and stuff like that. So, but no, I think it's always just again blows my mind the scale, the vendors, the amount of big tellies. Tom and I were walking around with someone else filming the other day, and just the amount of just huge screens. They get bigger and bigger, brighter and brighter, and fancier from the likes of LG and Samsung, Sony, and all those kind of people. So that's always a spectacle to see and behold how they're doing all that cool stuff with those displays.
Yeah, I saw those displays at CES about a month ago, and the cool thing was the transparent displays. You have both LG and Samsung with transparent versions of displays. Really interesting applications for some of that.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Like,
I mean, we had the
live. It's really impressive.
Yeah, opposite us in Gresham, we had the Samsung wall, I think it's called. And again, they had a transparent area, but it was like a massive video wall with then a doorway in it. And then there was these like waves playing, and you'd walk through this door as the waves are crashing over you. And then the video kind of wrapped around the kind of thing. So again, it goes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We can't get more resolutions. They're just doing more zany and wacky things with LED and displays these days. So it's very visually catching for sure.
So, Tom, I'm reading some of the feedback and what some of the people have posted, what some of the manufacturers have posted. It didn't look like there were any big revolutionary steps. I mean, that's the old expression, right? That it was evolution, not revolution. One of the analysts told me the other day that, now his grandmother has a video bar and she's been dead for 20 years. So the idea that everybody has their own video bar. A couple of things, the other joke was, you want fries with that, so with the video bars, you want it to go vertically, or do you want it to have the ability to share built into it? They're throwing on these side added features, but pretty much everybody's got a video bar now.
Yeah, that running joke is kind of accurate. Like, everybody has a video bar now, and all the audio players now have a video bar, and there's not tons to choose from them. I spend a lot of time in that area with customers. It's like kind of saying, like, you've got to choose beyond the video bar hardware now. Like, who's going to stay in the game, who's committed to the software, the management platform, like the other capabilities. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of oversaturation on the video bar front.
And what's interesting, and again, the freedom that I have on the show now that I'm not aligned with any organization, it's not very well known that probably about half of the video bars on the market, no matter what brands they're on, are all being made by the same company.
Well,
They're
that's the thing. You can see it in some of the OEM relationships. You can even see very similar gear, very similar specs. So, yeah, my advice to customers there is to think about who's going to be in the game in 3, 4, 5 years time, and who's jumping on the bandwagon.
yeah, good
Yeah,
point.
so the other, I guess there was some interesting. I'll step in on that one. So I know Yailing. I'll be open. I mean, again, obviously, you know where I work for, but I'll be transparent. Yailing obviously announced a new video bar there, but I guess the big video bar news was Cisco. So they announced 21.9, the first Android 21.9 solution on an Android video bar. Now they're not using the traditional Qualcomm Snapdragon platform that most of the other vendors are using. So obviously, it's giving them mileage to do some different stuff. So they did an announcement with Samsung on a 21:9 display to do front row. And again, as far as I know, and I could be wrong on this, Tom probably knows more of this than me. Jason's now looking funny across the room. They are the first vendor, I believe. I'll get in trouble now. They're going to kick me under the table. The first
Crestron
vendor.
video bar coming soon. Yeah,
Well,
they're the first vendor
absolutely,
to show.
video bar 17 amazing and obviously the best. Yeah, showcase it. Yeah.
They're the first ones to show 21:9 on MTR and Android. It's still very early for that, so it was early build. It's not GA, but yeah, I think you can tell Neat have got it working under the covers as well, but they've got some bits to do. So I think this year there'll be some more 21:9 on Android, which is good to see.
Tom, was there any more scuttle? And I'm going to ask a couple other people later on in this show, but was there any more conversation about Microsoft wanting to have their own version of Android? Is that moving along in any way, or was it quiet?
Yeah. Actually, I did a video with Josh at Jabra. It's on LinkedIn if you want to find it, and we talked particularly about that MDEP, that Microsoft Devices Ecosystem platform. It's still ticking along. I think Jabra and Crestron are going to be the first two probably to have that dedicated Microsoft Android, but they're both going to ship with their own Android and then do an in-field upgrade. It'll be interesting. I think it's not going to be till much later this year, but it'll be interesting to watch the OEMs see who adopts it and who doesn't.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because many organizations went to Android to avoid being locked into the Microsoft ecosystem. So it's sort of counterintuitive, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, there are definitely customers, particularly enterprise, where they're nervous around Android, and because it's open source, then the OEM has to manage it, and then Microsoft on top, and they want one throat to choke. And if Microsoft say we bless this build, that gives them, because they obviously use other Microsoft stuff, right? So Microsoft are our trusted vendor. So I think that's what's driving it, and it also gives Microsoft the ability to manage the OS and the features, which in theory, we'll see if this comes to fruition, in theory means they could ship Android features faster because they can test OS and build all at the same time and say this has been blessed as a package.
Was there any conversation or scuttlebutt around AI? Was that any bit of a topic at the show? Because it didn't seem like it from the stuff that I saw.
Not especially. I mean, everybody says AI because it's the fashionable thing to say, and in terms like the auto framing, some of the noise cancellation, like people throw it in, but nothing. I mean, nothing we haven't seen before. Like nothing revolutionary on that front. I think it's just a capability, but really, like I think 2024 is about, don't just say AI at me, like show me the feature, show me the value.
Yeah. And I don't particularly want to call out any one specific vendor for showing projects or things that are going on over there. But when your advancement from version 1.0 to version 2.0 is a bench that can now hold two people instead of just one, yeah, I'm kind of holding back on giving a lot of kudos around that kind of experiment. I think there are better technologies out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was just across the board. There wasn't anything that was kind of jaw-dropping this year. I mean, a couple of things that stood out for me. Logi are now shipping their center of room cam, and I got a really good demo of that. Neat are not shipping yet, probably around Enterprise Connect time, but they gave me a demo of their latest build, and that was good as well. And that's genuinely a new experience. It's still early, like I said, there's still tuning to do there. Crestron had their new One Beyond cameras, and that's a bit exciting for me on the Microsoft side because they've added USB, so you can run two of those cameras with no controller, just USB into the Windows MTR. Still pending certification. Those things stood out, but other than that, it was just lots of incremental improvements.
What about the Chinese manufacturers like Yealink or Kandao or those guys? Any center table camera or announcements from them?
Nothing new. Yealink have got their center of table, though theirs is slightly different. Theirs is kind of primarily center of table, whereas everybody else is adding like an accessory. So they've got center and front of room. I think from what I've seen of the demos, having both makes sense. The thing I'm excited about there is it comes down to the OEM and how well they do the, digital direction or whatever their brand name is for it. They're cutting and editing, and I think that's a chance for them to innovate beyond just the UC platforms, the Zoom and the Teams and the WebEx, do their own thing. So they should stand apart. So we'll see who's got the chops to kind of make the most of these multiple cameras.
And Hudley showed that as well. They showed the next version of their director built into the system.
Yeah,
The
actually,
crew.
they had a demo off the floor. I didn't actually get over there. I did meet with them on the floor, but I heard feedback from a couple of people to say it was quite an impressive demo, actually.
What about you, Neil? What were the standout things from you from walking around and listening to people?
Yeah, I can give you a quick update on the crew. I did go to the room. It was miles away, so definitely got my steps up heading down to the Hudley room. But the crew, they just reduced the price on it. It was about $12,000 for the crew. They just got us to $8,000. So it brought the afford. Don't quote me on the 8,000. It might be 8.5. So again, go and check the website. But they absolutely slashed the price, dropped the price on that, and it is an impressive solution. Multi cameras, and again, they're classing it as an AI director to do the multi camera switching. So it's kind of us, Hudley now. Again, ours is certified. I'm not sure where they are on the certification program for that, but that's really impressive. For me, I'll switch out the video world and go to the audio world. If people know me, I'm a big Shure fanboy. Love Shure stuff. Supporting the headset today. My go-to mic's an SM58 for doing live stuff, and I've got my podcast mic for sure. But they've got some great stuff. They've been very, very good in the meeting room systems. The MXA 920, their ceiling tile array. They released, but they've now released some lower cost ones of those to make it much more accessible. The MXA 902 has got a built-in speaker, so for a smaller huddle room, you can put one ceiling tile in. It's got built-in speaker and a microphone in it. And now they just literally announced last week the 901, which is even lower cost, but it just has the microphone, so no speaker in that. So again, if you want that, get the stuff off the table, no clutter, no rustling papers, get the mic into the ceiling. That's really cool. And then my absolute favorite Shure announcement, again, so I love them. Again, Tom will, love this. Tom and I and you, we go around these trade shows. We have our kind of mobile rigs set up. Again, we either use these kind of lapel mics or the little plaques. Shure have just released, I think it's called the S-Select, but again, go and check the website. A really nice wireless XLR that can plug into your mic, and then a proper mobile UHF receiver that will sit on top of your mirrorless or your DSLR camera. Traditionally, it's always had to be like a 19-inch rack mount. So for us videographers running around trade shows, it just wasn't practical. So it's really great to have a great, audiophile name like Shure, but now giving us people running around doing these kind of running gun videos, some real high-end audio that we can kind of bring into that. So again, love all the stuff that Shure are doing. And again, they're smashing it. There's loads of more stuff as well coming. So big shout out to Shure. There's some cool stuff coming there for sure. There you go. That was a fun.
So I appreciate your comments. We have one other person who just came back from the show. Let me switch over to him and let's get his opinions from this. So joining me now is Dave Michels, who's one of the industry analysts and runs his Talking Points website and newsletter, Points with a Z. Dave, thanks for joining it. How are you doing today?
It's great to be here with you, and great to be back in the U.S. Boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah, but we're both in New Jersey today. That's an interesting thing. And there was an earthquake somewhere in the Midwest, so that could be the reason. But anyway, tell me about. First, do you have a good flight back?
Oh yeah, uneventful. Yes.
Okay, so I would have had you directly on with Neil and Tom, but you were actually in the air at the time. So I had to coordinate to bring you on a little bit after that. Tell me your impressions. Obviously, I think this was the second year that you've been to ISE in Barcelona. I was with you there last year, so I wasn't there this year. Overall impressions of the show. I mean, I'm told it was close to 75,000 people. Did it seem bigger? Did it seem the same? Was it exciting?
It actually seemed very similar to last year. So direct answer to that question. It's unlike anything in the U.S. It's a huge show, and not only is it huge because of the amount of people that are there, but just everything is huge, right? They always say everything's bigger in the U.S., but not tech shows. I mean, I think Crestron's booth is the size of a Walmart. I mean, it's the booths or the stands, as they say over there, and I don't know how you say it in Spanish. The booths are huge. The crowds are huge. The city's huge. There's like a 40-minute wait for a taxi at the end. It's like being at CES or something like that. So it's just a phenomenal show in terms of scale. The part that I'm focusing on, which tends to be around the enterprise communications, mostly around meetings at this event, is huge by itself, and it's just a small part of that show. And so it's just an amazing event.
It filled up 1.5 halls, right? The things that are around collaboration. And
I don't even know how you count the halls anymore because they were all over the place. I'm running around. I think I was in every hall with just the appointments and vendors that I wanted to see. I think it was very similar to last year. So I was trying to go to where I thought the booths were last year. But like Neat, for example, Neat ended up, I think, doubling the size of their booth, and they were down in like three halls down further than they were last year. So it was quite a bit of running around to see all the vendors.
Oh, okay. And in talking to Neil and Tom, I guess the consensus amongst the three of us was that it was more evolution, not revolution. There were a couple of announcements, but there weren't any big earth-shattering things. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's an off show for announcements. Like I said, the crowds are big, the booths and stands are big, but the announcements are small. I think it's partly because of the time of the year, right? It's January. A lot of them are holding their announcements for Enterprise Connect, which is at the end of March, and you had CES, so the ones that are in both spaces had their announcements earlier in January. So it's kind of a quiet time, but it's not really missing, to be honest. There's enough traffic and enough interest and enough engaging conversations that you don't really need that many announcements. Now, there were some announcements. We should get into some of that too, but there were some. But a lot of it was the kind of stuff that I had expected to see. One of the nice things, again, back to the bigger stands, is the companies show more in their stands. And so instead of just trying to show just one product or two product or just whatever they're announcing, they tend to show more of their portfolio. Zoom, for example, they even had drones in their booth, right? I think Zoom was the only one showing contact center because they're showing their whole portfolio, and they were also showing their events platform, which I thought was really interesting. So big booths, lots of stuff going on in them, lots of conversations.
Okay. And I know you had commented to me last year when we were together that it was really hard to have a conversation in the booth because the booths themselves were too crowded and noisy. Was that still the tendency, or did people get more space for conversation?
It really depends on the booth. There were several booths this year, Logitech being one of them. Stands. Yeah, there were several this year, Logitech being one of them, that you couldn't get into. You had to have like an appointment, which I did, which was nice. But I was trying to walk right in, and I got stopped. Hey, you can't go in there. And so a number of stands were basically a line to get in, or you had to have an appointment to get in because they wanted to control the amount of traffic in the stand, which was kind of unheard of, especially the size of these stands. So. But it worked out pretty well because when you did get in, you could sit down, you could have a good conversation. And a lot of these stands have, multiple meeting rooms, one for just meeting because they need to do that. But because of the industry we're in, they're showing the meeting room technology and they have multiple showcases. So again, you don't see anything this size in Enterprise Connect. I mean, the stands are just huge.
Yeah, we're starting to see some of that at this past CES as well, that, some of them, they want you to take the flow the way they put it together. So it's by appointment. You can only go in one way. And, if you're a large company and you go to a lot of these conferences, it's the same booth in many cases or the same design. They don't want to redo it. So I don't know about Enterprise Tech. That's probably going to be a little smaller, but yeah, it's interesting. So give me your top 2 or 3 takeaways from the show from an exhibitor product standpoint. No playing favorites, nobody sponsoring this, just from the heart. What did you think you saw that?
Well, it's really hard to come up with 2 or 3. There was because it's such a diverse set of things I saw there. Certainly you saw lots of multi-camera solutions, but again, we saw that last year. And now they were all on display. Everyone's proud of them. Everybody's got their unique angle to them. So of course you saw it on the Cisco and Zoom stands, and but even like the HP Poly was showing their. I think it was the first time I saw the 3 E70s connected to a Zoom room like that. Crestron announced a whole bunch of new cameras, and they were showing they had a new multi-camera solution. Actually, I call it One Beyond Light. I forget what they call it, but it was basically an A/B type of switch, front of the room, back of the room, and it would automatically switch. Cisco had their cinematic experiences. So a lot of the multi-camera solutions.
And I
Of
heard from
course,
the
there
other
were
guys that some of the center of table products are starting to ship, and they were starting to see those real as opposed to just talked about.
Yeah, so Neat had theirs hanging. I like the hanging better than the center of the table. I think the center of the table gets in the way, but Neat had their hanging one. Cisco, Logitech had theirs on the table. Cisco, Crestron, they have theirs around the room, which I think works really well. Definitely the multi-camera experience. I think it's really important development in meeting conferencing, because it's just one more element that becomes invisible, right? Instead of having to work it on a remote and figure out which camera you want, it's just all done automatically, and done well for that matter. I think that's really important. Of course, there were lots of video bars. You can't go more than a few steps in a place like that without seeing video bars. It's hard to believe. I think it was Poly had the first one. Maybe you remember, Dave. That was I
5 years
say
ago.
28. What year?
5 years ago.
Okay, it's 5 years ago. So now they've spread. They're all over the place. They're all over that hall. There were two new ones, at least that I saw, in Barcelona. There was the D10 has theirs, and D10 came up with a clever idea to hang theirs vertically. So they put it between the monitors, and that way you have the camera kind of eye level, which is clever. Barco introduced theirs, and their clever take was to tie it to their ClickShare program. Now, I don't really understand the ClickShare program, because we don't really need it anymore, right? The whole idea was you just plug it in, but now everybody's got content sharing on their meeting app, and so you don't really need that anymore. But they've tied it to it. They're sticking to it. People love it. They're sticking to their story. And the nice thing about the Barco one too is it runs on Linux, and so I think that's really important, because Microsoft is starting to control that Android. So Barco and Cisco, I think, are the only two that I know of that are running Linux, which allows them to load that Android shell in there the way Microsoft wants, which I think is a big advantage. Crestron announced their video bar a while back, but this time they announced they're actually shipping it. So I think that's another story, actually, is the supply chain is loosening up finally, and we're getting parts, and things are becoming available. So yeah, lots of video bars. And let's see, what else can I share? Neat was there in full force. I mentioned they had a bigger booth. Their new CEO, Janine, was there. Nice to see her. She seems to be thriving in her role. One thing about it being I get confused whether Barcelona, the event like this, is an American show or a European show. It's an American show because everything is big, everyone is speaking English, and there's McDonald's everywhere. And so my first stop in Barcelona was McDonald's, unfortunately, but that's another story. But it's also a very European show because the conversations are so different. Sustainability is such a much bigger theme over there, and I think that's fantastic. But on the sustainability side, Logi was flexing their muscles. They've dramatically expanded their use of recycled plastics. And what do they say? Everything new will be old recycled materials. I think that works really well for Logitech. And Cisco's Control Hub they were showing off how it can do power management, how it can do emission tracking and energy management, carbon emissions insights, stuff like that. Even the badges, our badges that we were wearing at the conference had no metal, had no plastic. I was actually really impressed with that. And low impact badges. So a lot more awareness around sustainability, and a lot more conversation around sustainability.
Yeah, that's all really interesting. One of the observations that I made late last year, and I'm kind of sticking to it, I'd love to get your opinion of it, is that the organizations that are in the collaboration space that have been around for a while, that are coming together through M&A, through acquisitions, we're going to see less and less innovation from them they're going to continue to do this incremental piece, be a little bit more sustainable, have a little bit more features. The real innovators in the space, I think, are going to have to come from new, smaller, hungry companies. Because I think, after these big mergers, they're really trying to sell the paint they have on the shelves. Do you agree with that? Is that a fair assumption?
And so I met with a couple smaller companies on the floor or in the hallways, and I agree with you. There's the big companies are focused on big opportunities, and that's what they do well. I met with Video Window. Do you remember these guys?
Yeah, of course, Daryl. Good guys.
Yeah, Daryl at a Collaboration Square. And so he was showing they had an island within another display booth. But the Video Window, persistent video, the idea has been around for a long time. None of the big companies have really been interested in embracing that. But I think it's a fantastic technology. And so you saw companies like that. I met up with I don't know how to pronounce it, Connect Sounds, something like that. I think it's Connect Sounds. But they have an interesting audio technology that works with a number of platforms that allows everybody to have their mics on without feedback. And so I think there's still a lot of opportunity for innovation in the sector. It's also really interesting to me the way the Microsoft and Zoom ecosystem is the same, right? And so you walk around and everybody says, Logi and Meet, what they all say, or D10, we all work with Zoom and Microsoft. And then there's this whole Cisco conversation. You get to Cisco and they say, hey, we work with Zoom and Microsoft. But there's like this real power in the Zoom and Microsoft combination that is driving, allowing a lot of opportunity for companies to innovate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so I appreciate your impressions from Barcelona, considering that I couldn't be there, and it adds to our conversation. Let's take a minute or two to talk about the rest of the beginning of this year. I know that I will be at Future of Work Expo with our friend John at IT Expo, and then Collaboration Week New York, and I've covered those on other shows. And then the next big event for both of us, I guess, is Enterprise Connect, right, at the end of March, and you're still managing the Innovation Showcase.
Yeah, I'll be running the Innovation Showcase as usual. This year's theme is around CX, customer experience, and so it's not too late to apply. You can still apply. Deadline's very soon though, and we'll be showcasing companies. The main requirement for that event, by the way, for the Innovation Showcase, is it's only to new vendors, not new as in age, but new as in new to Enterprise Connect. They can't be previous exhibitors. And so, so companies that are in the CX space that have something clever, they should definitely apply. It's all free.
Absolutely. And where do they go to apply? How do they get the information? Or do they just ping
somewhere
you?
on the Enterprise Connect website? Yeah.
Okay, no problem. And Neil and Tom said that the three of us might get together and do this show live from Enterprise Connect if we can pry you away for 5 or 10 minutes. Join us.
I'd love to. I'll cancel any meeting to join you guys on this.
Let's do it up on the main stage at like 4 o'clock in the morning, so no one will bother us. That's terrific. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, sign up for Talking Points, do anything else, how do you suggest they get in touch with you?
Well, Talking Points, my website with the Z on the end, not an S. The S was taken, and so Talking Points with a Z, and you can reach me there as a contact button there. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Dave Michels. That was really terrific. And Tom and Neil, and maybe even Dave, I'll check with him the next time. We're all going to get together at Enterprise Connect. Maybe we just do this live there the next time. Is that something you guys would be interested in?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We could maybe all be in the same place at the same time and do it live. Bring all our mics together and do it on the floor. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think maybe we can get a camera that can actually do automatic switching. We'll have to see whose we want to go with.
I could sponsor that maybe. Maybe you could do something like that. I'm really excited. So I've never been to Enterprise Connect. Always had FOMO. Again, when I was at our previous company, I never got to go. So I'm really, as the Americans would say, super excited to go and check that out. I say I hear a lot about Enterprise Connect. Always had FOMO. It's going to be great to go out there. And that was a big Microsoft focus there as well, and contact center as well, I believe. So again, it's going to be great to experience that firsthand. And if we can get this band together, then I'll absolutely be up for that and doing a whole bunch of content.
And we'll have to get you to feed the alligators at one point.
Oh, let's go. I'm there.
That's a rite of passage.
There you go. All right, I'm in.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thanks. Let me just ask you if people want to reach out to you for any reason. Tom, how can somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah, tomtalks.blog, empowering.cloud for all the team's content, and always around on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much, Tom. What about you, Neil? When you finally escape Barcelona and call that waiter back over to give you some more to drink, where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So Crest TV is my regular sort of video podcast every week. So hashtag Crest TV, you'll find that. I don't do the whole Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. So I really LinkedIn is my favorite platform. So go and find N Fluester or Neil Fluester, Neil Presser, and you'll find me on LinkedIn and a bit of YouTube, Instagram, and that kind of stuff. I'm a friendly guy. Come and reach out and let's be friends. Let's chat.
Tom and Neil, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate that. On next week's show, I have another friend that's joining me that I haven't spoken to in a very long time. Dan from VDO 360, Dan Friedman, is going to come on and talk about some of his really cool cameras that he has built and available, and we'll go through all of that next week. But until then, I'm David Danto. Thanks very much. You guys know how to get me. I'll see you next week.